Welcome, Paul, to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Antigama, this new album without, and more things relating to the metal world. So, starting with a common question: how have you been during these crazy times? Perhaps we are ending a pandemic. Who knows? And now you start a war in Europe. That's a curious thing. And now, and who knows what happened the next couple of years? Alien invasion, the machines takes the power. So no, who knows what happened? We are living the crazy times now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. The last few years have been pretty rough, actually. And when everything broke, like basically the world shut down in 2020. I was in the middle of a tour, and yeah, we basically had to stop, get back home, and like no one knew what to do because it was a completely new situation. Yeah, now luckily some things are slowly getting back to more or less normal in a way, at least a little bit more normal than before, but still, yeah, I think it's not gonna end that fast, to be honest. But also, even if getting back to what we had before the pandemic and before this whole mess is going to be hard, if possible at all. That's my opinion, at least.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yes.
okay. That's right. That's right. So, can we say? Could we say that this without was written during this pandemic, or was it before?
No, I mean the album Whiteout was written. We started in 2019. Still in 2019. But we only did, I think, one song, and also in like a very rough version, which changed later. And most of the material we actually wrote in 2020, 2021. So it was during the pandemic already. We had quite a long break, and then we kind of teamed up. Me and Sebastian, we teamed up to continue writing the album in around summer 2020, I would say. And we started like a really intense rehearsing schedule, like pretty much every day for the rest of the year, and then beginning of 21. So then after that, it was mainly like adding some elements, practicing, polishing some stuff, working on vocal lines, on bass lines with our singer and with our bass player later, and recording. We started recording in last year. Actually, I remember I recorded drums in June. It was either May or June last year. So that's when we actually started the recording process. So yeah, it took quite a while even since then. So yeah, this album took quite a while to write, produce, and record. But yeah, we didn't really have a reason to hurry. That's one thing, and the other thing was with all the production problems with the vinyl production mainly. It also postponed the release, and lots of other things going on. So yeah, it took us a while.
Okay. You entered to Antigama in 2012. Then you record the Meteor, the Insolent, and with Whiteout. So how do you see now? Do you understand the band for more than 10 years now? So since the beginning, how did you see when you were outside of the band? Because
yeah, we've been through quite a lot in this time. We recorded a few albums, some EPs, some split materials, and so on. Yeah, some things have changed. We changed bass players a few times, and in the meantime, and yeah, actually, I've been in the band for pretty much half of its career right now. Because the band started in 2000, am I right? Yeah. And yeah, it's been 22 years this year, if I'm correct. Yeah. So out of that, I've been pretty much half. And yeah, I mean, the style changed over the years, but I think this the Antigama element is still there, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I saw, according to especially the info that bring this new white out, is that that the band plays something more technical and progressive grindcore with death metal stuff. But when I usually the people approach to the death metal grindcore and death metal and grindcore, they want to think about the Napalm Death and the Brutal Truth, the first ones about this. So how do you describe the music from Antigama? Is technical, is perhaps is progressive? Because when I hear this White Out, is for me is a classic stuff from Napalm Death from the 90s, especially when the Napalm Death did this kind of experimentation and feeling of emptiness and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, our approach to the technical element is completely not like the let's say the new school of like brutal death metal or grindcore, where we have like how to say that, it's more in the roots. I would say it's more in the vein of like Napalm Death, like you said, yeah, Brutal Truth, but with our own twist on it. And the whole progressive element is, and like the technical thing, we take a lot of inspiration from like the music from the 70s, from like library music, Italian library music. Maybe it's hard to hear that, but it definitely has that it has a big inspiration, especially on Sebastian, on the guitar player. He's a big fan of library music from the 70s, and yeah, that's kind of like we we don't really listen that much to like the new stuff, to be honest.
Okay. Well, now Antigama is a well-known band around the death metal and grindcore stuff, around the world with a lot of fans there. So for you, what is the biggest strange that this album has compared to the previous ones in Antigama and around all global media? Because as you can see, Spotify, Tidal, iTunes, this kind of digital platform bring us a lot of bands, a lot of new bands.
Well, it's actually I don't really follow Spotify or all the digital distribution. I'm pretty old school myself, so I stick to CDs, vinyls. So yeah, but as far as how this album, how would I compare it to the older ones?
Yes, with the older ones, yeah.
Well, for me, it's definitely more in your face, sort of. There's less there's actually no electronics or like experimental stuff that we used to do on some albums. This one is specifically old school, organic, so to speak. So there are some elements from like the old Antigama, from the early stuff, with that they did with the previous drummer, like more experimental, more crazy, let's say, right? So there are some moments here and there which are kind of like a little twist on that kind of time that the band was playing that kind of stuff back in the older days. Yeah, so for me, this one is probably the most energetic and the most direct of all the albums that at least I did with the band.
Great. So I've been seeing a lot of the cover art since the beginning, especially since the beginning of the band, with intellect made us blind, and to this white out. And one thing that I denote about the cover arts is the thematic. The thematic is more universal, more space, sometimes more philosophical in some ways, abstract in some ways. So where is located exactly the theological aspect from about talking about the Antigama philosophy? What kind of philosophy the band has to bring to write these kind of lyrics?
As far as lyrics, that would be a question to Łukasz, to the singer. He's the author. I mean, yeah, him and Sebastian were working on the lyrics mostly, but overall, it's you know, the topic is life, whatever surrounds us, our you know, experiences, everything we kind of face throughout our lives. So this last album was about some tough times, you know, partially about the pandemic and the, you know, its effects as well, but also digging deeper into like some personal issues. But yeah, that's mainly the topic. So we don't really you know, we don't really go into like mythology or anything like that in the lyrics. It's all really let's say, you know, personal life experiences mostly.
Okay, so what do you think about it when a band released their first album? Usually for the band, and I think you think like this because you are a fan from Black Sabbath, the classic ones, talking about the heavy metal early stuff, and hard rock or progressive rock, this kind of stuff. You are a fanatic, and you think like the first albums from these kind of bands are the great ones to date. So, but a counterproductive thing is that the band usually thinks that the last album is the great word to the date. So for you, what are your thoughts about this kind of aspect, talking about the first one as the great ones, relating to the Antigama albums? Perhaps do you want to have another favorite? It's not Intellect Made Us, or perhaps no, it's not White Out, or perhaps for you the most that you love is the Discomfort, Resonance, Warning, etc.
For me personally, apart from the new one, obviously, which is, you know, it's like the fresh one, most recent, you know, that we just worked on, well, maybe not super recently, but yeah, of course it was the latest one we did. But I have a really special feeling for Meteor, actually. That was this one was the first one, the first full length that I did with the band. And also this album, we wrote it like really fast. I remember we only had a few, that's a funny story. We only had a few riffs, not really one complete song ready. And I was out on tour in the US at the time with another band. And when I came back, we had 12, I think it was 12 days until the studio that we booked. And we didn't actually have an album. We only had some rough ideas here and there and nothing else. And then we sat down, we were like, okay, we do it somehow, or we have to like cancel the session. So then we spent the remaining time we had, so not even full 2 weeks, it was a little bit less than 2 weeks, playing every day for like starting at 10 in the morning, finishing at like 9 in the evening. And we wrote the entire album in this time, basically. So what you hear in Meteor was written in pretty much 2 weeks. So that the whole process, you know, how fast and how natural at a certain point it started, you know, it went, and how it sounds now, you know, this one is pretty special for me.
Okay,
we're talking about the past. Yeah.
Now talking about your career, especially you as a drummer, I saw that you played with a lot well-known bands in Poland, especially Redemptor, Lost Souls, Decapitated, Vader, and a lot of bands more. So what did you decide to lean down by Antigama and not this kind of, I think, the biggest bands in Poland, like Decapitated, Vader, I think the Vader, and I saw that you play with Belfegor too, live, in talking about Life Matter. So did you decide to lean down, especially with Antigama? How was the approach to Antigama music? And now I saw that you play with the Batushka too.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah. So basically, Antigama is something like my child, I would say, something like that. So it's a band where I have the, let's say, artistic freedom to do whatever I want, and there's no wrong here. Like in most metal bands, you always have a certain style that you stick to, and with this band, we allow ourselves to do whatever we want. Plus, I know the guys for many years, and yeah, so. And all the other bands, there's always a boss, right? So I'm never really let's say I never was someone who can decide about anything really. And and there were many things happening, so yeah, I left, or yeah, I pretty much left most of the bands. uh, right now I'm focusing mainly on Antigama.
Hmm.
And a few more things here and there, but nothing really major. So
Okay. And for you, what is the biggest difference in between or among the extreme music from Belfegor, from Batushka, from Antigama music?
the difference,
Yeah.
uh yeah, like I
Because
said, the freedom, let's say.
Mhm.
All the other bands, they have some strict, metal in general. I see that genre as like a really strict thing. You have rules, certain rules. You have to look like this, play like that. This, you cannot do something like this because it's not in the style, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And here there's no such limitation. If we have an idea that we want to do a disco album, we will do a disco album. you know
Okay.
so and also the attitude, there's like no let's say stiffness in it, with the lack of a better word.
Mhm. Okay.
you know
Okay. So talking about this new album, Whiteout. So for you, which do you have a preferred one into this new one to play most live? Perhaps you need to see that you're met to your drums techniques, this kind of stuff that people want to see. So which song brings you memories when this song was composed, recorded, especially? Do you have a preferred one?
For, you mean from the live,
Yes,
from the
to
from
play
the
live. So which songs for you is want to play most live into this new album?
Oh, let me think. Well, there's a few, because every one of them is pretty much different in a way. But yeah, one that's definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge will be the first one, and the
Until
second one. Yeah, those two are pretty. They are not like super fast, because there are faster songs on the album, but they are really they have they require some stamina, and they have some nice feels and little things going on. Um, yeah, so it's really hard to tell right now, because we didn't really play those songs live yet, and we don't actually have any shows booked yet. Maybe we will do something in November, maybe.
okay.
But yeah, at this point it's really hard to tell. So I wasn't really thinking much about the new songs which we would play live, or you know probably won't be doing the entire album, but definitely we will put in a few. So yeah, it's a hard question.
Okay. So one question that I love to that I love to ask Polish musicians is that as you can see now, that I think these last 20 years or perhaps 15 years, that the Polish bands are surrounding around the world with good productions, with good albums, good bands, especially one of the Behemoth is one of the greatest now. As you can see, it's and a lot more, Decapitated, Vader, Antigama, and etc., and the list go on. So for why, but into this matter, I never see or I never hear a band that plays heavy metal, power metal from Poland. I just hear just extreme music. That's the only music that I hear from this. The last band that I heard last year was an Pagan Forest, like black metal stuff with a lot of mythological aspects into the lyrics. So for you, why usually the musicians in the Poland scene are dedicated to play string music and not the classic stuff, heavy metal, thrash metal I hear, but all the time the bands from there mix thrash metal with the death or the black metal, but not alone, not just thrash metal, just thrash metal, power metal, heavy metal. I think already I don't know if one band plays there these kind of styles.
I don't really know any
Yeah.
bands playing that kind of stuff in Poland. You know, I have my little theory about it because I was thinking about it myself some time ago. That I like realized that there is no bands playing that kind of stuff. I think one of the reasons might be because people here in general, of course, it's gonna be a stereotype or generalizing, but yeah, I have to do it in order to find some kind of solution, some kind of reason for that. I think people are in general pretty pissed off in Poland, and also quite, let's say, gloomy in their. You know, people are not really don't have this like southern attitude like you see in Spain and like in Italy or like South America. That people are happy, energetic, and so on. Not really. No, Polish people are. From my observation, mostly maybe sad is not the right word, but um, on the edge of like depression, worried, very serious most of the time. Of course, not everybody, but I would say most of them. That's how I see it, and that kind of translates into the music, which is more dark, in the atmosphere. And also yeah, I think it has something to do with the cultural background and the way people kind of see the world in a way.
Mhm.
That's at least
Well,
my theory. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know,
yeah.
but
Okay,
yeah.
okay. We are very closer to end this interview, Pavel. And
Mhm.
one aspect, what are the future plans that the band has for this White Out? Perhaps more videos upcoming. Perhaps who knows? You said that you will have, and perhaps you will have more gigs in Poland at the October. Who knows? Or who knows for the next year, European tour, North American tour, or perhaps it's not not crazy thinking that perhaps you will came here to Latin America and see a tour here. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be great. It's hard to predict because as you know, making long distance plans nowadays doesn't make much sense because things can turn around very fast. But yeah, we're hoping to do some shows. We will start with some mini shows in Poland, and then depending on what's possible, we will try to do like a European tour, at least some shows here and there, maybe some festivals next year. Depends, again, on what's possible. A US tour or a South American tour would be great. Um, but it's kind of difficult, and the costs are rising
Yeah.
for traveling and everything. So that's the biggest problem most of the time, because this band is not really doesn't really pull a lot of people. It's
Yeah.
pretty extreme stuff, so you don't get that much revenue. I mean, the promoters and everything. So
Yeah.
that's might be a problem, but
Mhm.
still we're trying to do as much as we can, and we have 2 more videos coming out soon.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, we actually did record a few more songs, and then on the last session, a few more than just the album. So there will be something more in some time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So that's
So
basically it.
great to know. Great to know about the future plans. So, well, Pavel, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did, and really thank you for your time. This new album, Whiteout, is a great one as usually from the band. Some, as I said, some people say that this is technical, progressive, death metal, grindcore and stuff, but for me, it's just extreme music, and I love this kind of stuff since the beginning. So, perhaps we want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerium followers.
Check out the new album. I hope you will like it. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to hopefully meeting you guys on shows if we ever end up in Latin America.
Great.
Which let's make it a wish for next year.